Hi, dear students. Again, I'm glad to see you this morning. Well, and today we are to start with the lecture, Laws of Dialectics. In front of you, me, Dr. Asanova. Well, let's begin our lecture. Well, you know, laws are called as essential, internal, inevitable, and necessary connections of this or that phenomenon. And during the life, human beings discover through their experience, through their observation over the nature of the society, of himself, these internal, inevitable, essential connections. What is lying beyond the invisible world. I'm sorry, beyond the visible world, beyond the hearable world, beyond the touchable world. And these laws depend on what sphere of life they are in. Laws also are differentiated according to what kind of spheres of life, spheres of nature, spheres of society, or human being's life are talked about. Well, laws of dialectics were first formulated by the great philosopher, by the great German philosopher, Hegel. But he formulated them on the basis of idealistic approach. That these laws of dialectics are characteristics of nature, society, and human thinking. I told you about the definition of law. And these laws may be everywhere. They are hidden, but they are discovered by the thinking man. Laws are discovered by the science, by people of science. But I have told that science may not be only that sphere of human thinking when they may be formulated by terms, by words. They may be also not spoken science, not formulated science, not expressed science. Last lesson I told you, do you remember, about the Kyrgyz ancient man who produced very interesting boots. And they were using these boots while hunting. And hunting was possible only on the high mountains where there were heavy snow. And in order to walk on that heavy snow, one could or was to have and had to have suitable food, suitable boots. And these boots by Kyrgyz people were called as it's some Kyrgyz word. It's not very much important how they call these boots, but they were boots. But these boots were the manifestation, or are the manifestation of that not expressed science, not formulated science. That was also the result of the discovery of the law of nature. The more the space of the pressure, the less is the strength of the pressure. This law was formulated later, much later, in Europe, in the 18th century, even in the beginning of the 19th century, when there was a new time, and all kinds of sciences have had a lot of discoveries in chemistry, physics, biology. That's why that time was called as new times in Europe, after Renaissance. But ancient people, just before our era, before our age, they discovered this law. They discovered this law, and they prepared those boots, and they used those boots. And it was very easy to walk on heavy snow, not being sunk. This is that not expressed, not formulated, silent science. Silent science also is being manifested in that transportable house of the Kyrgyz people, felt. How could they make felt without any chemical additions, without any chemical technologies, making very nice, very strong felt from the wool of sheep. Everywhere we can find those discoveries, how they could make, without any chemical additions, colors, and making very different, very nice, very beautiful colors of those carpets, clothes, things, domestic things. So this is the discoveries of the laws of nature, especially Kyrgyz calendar, moon calendar, is manifestation of that great science, not formulated. But science is what? It is very deep observation. Science is what? Through that observation, discovery of the law, in the law. And what is law? We have just learned about this. Law is internal, that is which beyond, internal, inevitable, essential, necessary connections, necessary ties, necessary interrelationships. Be we talk about nature, society, or human being. Those proverbs of the Kyrgyz people, which are coming, have been coming from ancient times, they manifest these laws. Laws of being just, of necessity of being just for the kings. Laws of being friendly, laws of being kind, noble, for better life. They were not talking of necessity of anger, furious, jealousy, or angriness, or how to say, or evil, being evil. All these proverbs, they are the manifestation of the knowledge of the law of being kind, and that is to be necessary for better life. And now when people forget about these sayings, they are becoming more inclined to sicknesses, conflicts, worse life, not very much secure life. How is it necessary to look back to those knowledges of the law of ancient people, law of good behavior as the law of good life? You know, laws, of course, are discovered by the science, by people of science also, of course. They are more called as laws of science because we do know about them. Then, for example, we know about the law of the people beginning from ancient times, not spoken, not formulated. We more are inclined to talk about the laws of Galileo Galilei, Giordano Bruno, Nikolai Copernic, law discovered by Isaac Newton, okay, and Albert Einstein. Well, these are formulated laws by, how to say, classically known sciences. For example, laws of biology in the 18th, beginning of the 19th century, Schwann opened the cell constitution of the matter. That all the matter are constituted, all the matters, all the kinds of matters are constituted of cells, okay? And the law of Charles Darwin, though he is now being criticized, of the natural selection, and the law of the fight that exists in nature, and just through the night and by a night, better and stronger kinds preserved, are being preserved. This is the call of natural selection, formulated by Charles Darwin, though being criticized. I'm again repeating this, okay? And his theory, discovery, so to say, of the origin of the human being from special kind of monkeys, though again it is being criticized now. Well, and here graphically in Russian, I'm very sorry, it's given in Russian, laws of dialectics. Talking about dialectics, I would like to say that there are laws of special sciences, I mean private unitary sciences, okay? The laws of the laws which are called common laws, as in the case when we talked about the categories. Well, and the universal laws. So to say, laws of dialectics. And these universal laws of dialectics are as follows. Here, these laws are given in Russian. Okay. The first law is the law of eternal movement. I have told to you about that in previous my lectures, that the law of eternal movement, eternal change, eternal transformation. Okay? Well, even in ancient times, philosophers told that everything moves, that even one cannot enter one and the same river, because everything moves. River changes, a man himself changes, there is nothing permanent, there is nothing very stable. Everything is in the process of change and transformation, okay? Only Hegel, this German philosopher, great philosopher, he could present a laconic formulation of the laws of the development of nature, society, and human thinking. But he gave an idealistic conceptualization of these laws. They were presented as laws of the development of human thought, but first of the absolute idea, as the laws of the development of the world reason. Okay? That the world reason is, how to say, is being absorbed by the nature, or is being transformed into the nature, then into the society, and then while human being investigating the nature, society, and himself, this world reason, which is now manifested in the human being, is returning to himself, to the world reason in the new quality. Of course, it's a very complicated conception, very complicated and very hardly understandable conceptualization. But this is this. So he wrote very interesting books, Phenomenology of the Spirit, Phenomenology of the Spirit, then philosophy of, also philosophy of the spirit, and phenomenology also, then philosophy of the law. Very interesting books. This great scientist wrote and speculated, very wonderful, but very heavy philosophical thinking. You know, he was loved by many his followers. They were called as young Hegelians. By the way, Karl Marx, perhaps you know him, who was the father of the communist idea. He was a lover of Hegel, and he participated in the club of young Hegelianese. Okay? So, what laws are these? Laws of dialectics. But laws of dialectics are those internal, necessary, essential, inevitable, necessary interrelationships which were manifested in the nature, society, and human thinking. What are these laws? First, the law of the unity of opposites. In Russian, if we translate it just word by word, it will be a law of the unity and struggle of opposites. If they are opposites, then they are first are in unity, but being in the opposition, they are all the time are being in the status of fight. So this is the first law. The second law is a law of transformation of quantitative changes into qualitative ones. Of course, they are to be understood and they are to be explained by human language, by our understandable language, which I will do a little bit later. And the third law, law of negation, of a negation, of negation. And these three laws are laws, universal laws of the dialectics, according to which the highest reason develops, finding its manifestation in the human spirit. Well, I would like to be back again and talk about those laws. Laws of the unity of opposites, my dears. This law is expressed everywhere, is manifested everywhere. In nature, for example, you see, night and day. Day comes after night, and night comes after day, and it is eternal process. Impact, interchange. Well, then evil and good. If there was no evil, then there would not have been good also. These are universal laws. Bad and good. Beautiful and ugly. Everything is in opposites. Everything is opposites. Even up and down, right and left, right and left. That's very interesting. These are, of course, laws and also categories, laws of the unity of opposites. No bad can be understood without understanding good, and no good can be comprehended as better without comprehension of bad. How can we appreciate light if we don't know darkness? And we are to praise darkness because we know after this there comes light. So interesting. And even we are to praise evil because without evil no good can occur. That evil can be our master, can be our teacher. That is why we are to be grateful to the evil. And what is evil? Something bad. And what is bad? Bad words, humiliation, okay, insult, etc. These are bad things. Being bad things, we talk them as an evil. But without knowledge of evil, we cannot appreciate the value of good. The same is with the laws of opposite and ugly, and ugliness and beauty, kindness and angriness, etc. This is a universal law which happens in the nature, in the society, in the human being thinking. The second law, which I have just taught, so transformation of qualitative change into quantitative change, the second dialectical law. We know that in some quality, there is a corresponding level of quantity. For example, quality of water. Water is a kind of quality. We drink water. We use water. We cannot live without water. But water contains some chemical quality of elements, or elements, some number of chemical elements. H2O or H2O. This is especially seen in the periodic table of elements presented by Mendeleev in the 19th century. All the elements are presented in this table. And these elements which constitute our life, even our organism, which constitute the whole system, are expression of corresponding quantity. Beyond some quantity, there is some corresponding quality, and vice versa. And if we change quantity or number of elements, then we do change the quality. If we change the temperature of boiling water, and when it comes up to 100 by Celsius, then it is transformed, water is transformed into the gas, into the, into some other quality. Everywhere we see that play of quality, beyond that quality, corresponding quantity, but when we change quantity, then that quantity is that master of changing of the quantity. That means the second dialectical law, which exists in every sphere of society, first nature and society, and then human being. It is even manifested in human thought. Immanuel Kant even talked about the chemistry of thought, biology of thought, that even thought arises as plant arises from the grain. And how it arises, from where it arises, when it arises, and what kind of stages of the development it comes through. We got used that human spirit is something, or human thought is something different from nature. No, human thought, even spirituality, obeys to the law of nature. And one of these laws is law of transformation of the quantity into quality. Just some qualitative change transforms the, some quantitative change transforms into corresponding quality. And the third law is law of negation of a negation. Everything in the nature, in the society, in the human being's thought develops according to this law. For example, it is classical example. When you throw the grain in the earth, into the grave, into the earth, this is first negation. By this grain, you negate that law, that grave, that land. From the land there comes the roots. And then from the roots are the first negation. And from the roots there comes those, these plants. And these plants are the second negation. I mean plants, so to say, branches. And then there comes, if there is a corresponding treatment, of course, then there comes those flowers, and from the flowers there comes what? First, again, grains, but of the next better quality and more quantity. More quantity. So this is the result of that process of a negation, of a negation of a negation. And everywhere this occurs, even in human thinking. So these laws were idealistically, though, formulated by whom? By Hegel, classical German philosopher, but in idealistic form, in idealistic terms. Idealistic approach was that. In order to understand this, again I'm repeating, idealistic, that these, of course, these great philosophers, but they were talking of the development of the absolute idea that world reason and everything is developed, is a kind of manifestation of that world reason. Even in human thought, when human being starts to think about the nature, society, himself, not only think, but understanding, not only understanding, but discovering some laws, this is manifestation of world reason. And by this, by the way, that world reason returns back to himself in some other qualitative level, more qualitative level. And this is eternal process, not finite, non-finite process of cognition of nature, society, and the self, himself, that means. Well, and here there is a question about philosophy and medicine, my dears. Of course, we have a special question, a special topic, a special lecture on philosophy and medicine, but here we will be very shortly talking about that. Philosophy and medicine are united in the fact that both investigate human being. The latter is the unity of natural and social. Well, philosophy, I'm sorry, this was a transformation, okay, translation. That is why philosophy is a methodological basis for the medicine. Philosophy is more and more being differentiated into many different branches, as it was told earlier. Medicine as well contains dozens of different interrelated subjects founded on such sciences as physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics. With the growth of human knowledge, there appears such synthesized subjects as biochemistry, biophysics. With more and more deepened study of matter, there appear microchemistry, microbiology, microphysics. Medical subjects themselves are constantly having changes. Well, Medicine represents material for application of philosophical knowledge. It objectively needs in methodological generalization. Philosophy is becoming as an inevitable and lawful methodological basis for medical knowledge. For this essence of philosophy is in consideration of all the phenomena in wholeness, interaction and interconnection, or of all the parts of the whole. Consideration of a human being in an inextricable bond of his internal components, as well as in the same bond with nature, this is the mission of philosophy. With this, it demonstrates a right orientation for the development of medical knowledge. Medicine, together with philosophy, perceives a complicated world of the human being, tries to expose the management of his health. Together with this, medicine itself becomes as an object of special philosophical investigation. These common contours of medicine is in the criteria of ancient philosophy were already indicated by great Hippocrates. Formation of medicine into independent, natural, and humanitarian sphere of influence upon a human being goes to new times when it started to be connected with the philosophical concept of life in philosophy of Francis Bacon and Immanuel Kant and other thinkers. Classic of German philosophy, Ludwig Feuerbach, called medicine as a cradle of materialistic philosophy. Well, here you see how a human being may be as an object of different branches of medicine. Okay? So, today's lesson is over. I tried to explain to you those laws of different special subjects. Well, they have their own laws. But first, laws that could be discovered by simply human living in experience, in life. Well, and then laws, common laws, which are expressed in many branches of the sciences, and universal laws. These are dialectical laws, which are expressed and manifested in many, many spheres, in all the spheres of life. Life of nature, life of society, life of a human being and his thought. If you have questions, of course, you can address to me. I am from Eurasian University. There is a room of mine there, and you can come and have some conversation with me if you have some laws, if you have some ideas to be shared. Thank you for your attention, and have a nice day. Thank you.